Hi, Becca C. Smith here, and today we're talking about my favorite game and how it actually helped me in my writing. I'm so excited for this collab, and thank you so much to DR Ranger for including me in it. I'm linking everybody's channel below, so go check out their video about their favorite games and their favorite game stories below. To start this video out, let me paint you a picture. It's 2007. I just got laid off from my job, but I'm kind of excited about it because in the past, when I had chunks of being unemployed, I would be able to get a lot of writing done during the unemployment while looking for other work. But then I get a phone call from one of my very best friends, and she too has been laid off. And by the way, totally two different jobs, two different industries. 2007 was just a really bad time for work, and a lot of people got laid off. So then I gave her my rousing unemployment speech of how we are just going to write every day. We're going to meet up and we're going to write. So at this point, she's just as excited as I am. And then she says, because reward systems work very well for us, she says that, hey, you know, now that we're unemployed, our friend Corey had been trying to get us to play a certain game, and we just were like, okay, yeah, sounds great, but never really got around to it. But the very first expansion was coming out, coincidentally, that very next day. It was called World of Warcraft, and the expansion was the Burning Crusade. I remember driving up to that Best Buy the next day with Carrie, and I can still recall how freaking excited I was as we were walking through the parking lot, going into the Best Buy, and picking up the box with all the codes of World of Warcraft and the expansion. I really knew virtually nothing about this game. I just knew that our friend Corey had been playing it for 2, possibly 3 years, because he'd been playing it from the beginning, and I think it came out in 2004, and this was 2007. So yeah, he'd been playing for 3 years. 3 years. And I'm thinking, who could play a game for that long without getting bored? Like, I love games, but you know, they last a finite amount of time. Or at least the games I had played had last a finite amount of time. So to fathom playing for years the same game was kind of just like, okay, well, maybe that's Corey. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. So we got the game, we went back to my place, and as we sat waiting for quite a long time for it to install on our computers that really weren't made for games. We didn't know that at the time. Lots of chugging at first. And we did some writing, so that was good. So we were ready. We were gonna do our hour-long sprint, hour-long play. This was gonna be no problem. Mostly. And then it was ready. We hit log in and we were in. Completely in. And we could be anyone we wanted. So of course, I know people that play this game are probably not going to be too surprised that we both picked Night Elves. I think everybody picked Night Elves when this game first started. But you know, Alliance, Night Elves. A person that's like me, who's obsessed with high fantasy their entire lives, that's all I freaking read. Of course I'm going to be an elf. Duh. The coolest part was that you got to create, not just that I wanted to be an elf, but I got to pick her hair color, her hairstyle, her face marks, everything. You got to pick everything. What kind of fighter was she going to be? Was she going to be magic? Was she going to be a hunter? Was she going to anything? Basically making your perfect avatar of who you'd want to be in a fantasy world. I had never experienced that before. So for me, it was magical. And then once we had our characters made, we were in. I gotta say, tears. I actually had tears coming to my eyes. I was so blown away because I essentially felt like I was transported into another world. Complete and total immersion. I mean, I loved video games my whole life. Obsessed, really. But Warcraft was the first time that I felt like I was living a story. And Carrie and I were absolutely terrible. Not because we aren't good game players, because we've played a lot of games, we're pretty good, but it was because we both were obsessed with this world. So we'd be in the middle of a quest, and I was an herbologist, so I got to pick herbs, and I would see an herb way off in the distance, and I had to get it. I didn't care about killing the boars that I needed to kill. I wanted to get that herb. And we got killed all the time because we built our professions up so high that it didn't match our level of character. So we were going into lands where there were way higher characters that could kill us in one blow, but it was like a race. She was a miner. It raced to so she could get the medal and I could get the herb. And it really was just about exploring. We were so impatient. We wanted to see all of the world of Warcraft. So it's interesting because when you asked me to be a part of this collab, the main topic was your favorite game story. And Warcraft was the first one, was the first game that came to mind. Like, no question. That and Wind Waker. I do love Wind Waker. I had to think about it. I had to think about why I picked Warcraft. Because when I was actually thinking about the story, I mean, there's so many stories because there's so many expansions, but a lot of the Warcraft stories are homage to fantasies and books and TV shows and movies. And not to say it's not original. I mean, a lot of the storylines are very original and amazing and incredible. But I realized that that wasn't why I picked this game. I played it for 8 years. So obviously I liked the game. I loved the game. But what was it? What was it that made my first instinct to be World of Warcraft when thinking of a good story? It was then that I realized that it wasn't the story that made it my favorite game of all time. It was the world building. And being a writer that writes almost exclusively books with world building, it just clicked in my head. Out of all the games I've played, World of Warcraft is complete immersion. I mean, nothing else could keep me that excited for that long. 8 years. Just to give you an example of how this game took me over. In the second expansion, Wrath of the Lich King, which was my favorite, by the way, I didn't want to do instances or raids because I am weirdly introverted, and I know that that sounds weird that you're playing in a video game, you don't see these people, you don't know, so why, this is where introverts should shine. But that's not true at all. Raids are a little better because there's a lot of people, but in an instance you usually have about 5 people and they're strangers. You have to do really well. And the pressure, it's that fear of being ridiculed, of being picked on, of being like, you suck, and just like all the horrible things that gamers have a reputation for. Warcraft, unfortunately, is full of a lot of them. And I just never wanted to put myself in that position, so I never did instances and I never did raids. And that was, at the time, the only way you could get a dragon mount. And you guys know how obsessed I am with dragons, like super obsessed. And I just wanted to ride a dragon. I wanted my character to ride a dragon. My friend Corey said, there is another way. You can go once a week and buy an egg from a specific vendor, and every week you open the egg takes a week to fertilize. And then at the end of the week, you crack it open and you hope you get a dragon mount. I don't even know what the odds are. They were horrible odds, but that was one way I could do it. So that's what I did. Every week, bought an egg, cracked the other one, rotate. Once a week. Cracking an egg, buying an egg, cracking an egg, buying an egg. I did this for a year. Every week. I'd buy and crack the stupid egg. And I can't even tell you how many little baby dragon, which are adorable pets I have, but I wanted the mount. And I just remember, it was almost exactly 1 year, like to the date, like an anniversary. And by the way, my friend Corey, he collected mounts, and he did raids and instances, so he already had at least 5 dragon mounts at this point. He got his in 2 weeks. Yeah, 2 weeks. That's it. But when I cracked open that egg and saw the text saying I got the reins of the green proto-drake, I can still feel that elation, that excitement, that I think I jumped up and down and screamed and did all the things that people probably thought I'd be insane for. I'm sure there were tears of joy. I just remember feeling so happy in that moment. And then when I flew the dragon out, that's all I did. I think I did it for 2 hours. I just flew this virtual dragon for 2 hours all over the world of Warcraft. Just lots of exploring and lots of dragon flying. Oh my God. But a year, every week. I didn't think I was going to get it, to be honest. Especially since Corey got it in 2 weeks, I was thinking there was a fluke, something was wrong with my computer or my game, and I was just never going to get it. But I got it. But in those 4 or 5 months that Carrie and I were unemployed, we played a lot of World of Warcraft. We got a lot of writing done, and I always refer to it as the golden age because Carrie ended up writing her first screenplay, and she entered it to the Nickel Fellowship that year and got into the semifinals. I mean, this girl is an amazing writer. She's so good. And then for me, after those 4 or 5 months, I ended up working at Ghost Whisperer, the TV show, for the head writer creator of the show. So to say those 4 or 5 months gave us the confidence in our writing is an understatement. I really believe that I owe a lot of that to playing World of Warcraft. It was just a really magical time. So if you're into world building, I highly recommend, they do a 7-day free trial by the way, but I highly recommend you try it. From the lands to the plants to the different metals, everything, to the archaeology. It is a complete masterclass in world building. But what's great about it is that instead of reading about world building, you're actually experiencing it. And I think that that really helped me because this was before I wrote Riser. I published Riser in 2010, but I wrote it in 2009. I'd already been playing Warcraft for 2 years. And I think of me constantly being in this world, virtually experiencing it, visually and interactively. It really helped me to think about little details like that, to think about all the little things instead of just sort of pieces here and there or whatever affects the character. But it really helped me to flesh out full worlds. Probably can't see it, but I wanted to wear something that was Warcraft related, and my husband actually made this for me because you can get exalted with certain factions and then you get cool stuff, and I could never choose. I didn't Horde, Alliance. But the Kalawak were these giant walrus people and all they did was like fish and raise their little pups, and it was just, I love them so much. So I did the dailies, I put the work in, and I became exalted with the Kalawak. And they're the only faction I am exalted with. That's it. That's the only one I spent the time doing. So my husband made this for me, you know, because normally it's like for the Horde or for the Alliance. So he put for the Kalawak because he's amazing and I'm weird. All right, guys. Well, so excited to watch everybody else's videos on their favorite game story. Like I said, the links to their channels are below. Go check them out. And thank you guys so much for joining, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.